So we're, got time to probably go around again.
I don't know if I can handle that.
You can pass.
On the same topic.
Yeah, unless you all want to, for some reason, stop. Go to the other topic, but maybe we can keep grooving down on this. Yeah, when I was maybe 14, 15, that sort of left that natural world I was talking about, but I got into all these little, it wasn't exactly cars, but I got into all these art projects with this guy who was a real oddball. His name was Walter Green. He was kind of a real, I guess you'd call him now, geek. He was a really odd guy. Goopy. He just dressed weird, and his parents were weird, and just everything about him was weird. But our bond was around these art projects we did, which would be like cutting things out and making collages. He was very precise, and he knew every kind of, and this is like at 13 or 14, he knew every type of ship in the U.S. Navy. I mean, and he had binoculars, and we'd look at the ships coming in to Norfolk Harbor, and he could identify each one in great detail. And so sometimes our collages would be art things. I'll never forget, I looked in his closet once, and I couldn't tell whether he did this or his mother did this, but his shoes were all lined up perfectly with the exact same distance between the two pair. I mean, that's how odd this guy was. And his parents, like I said, I could never figure out what they did, and they would just seem to be as odd as. And so I got this idea that his parents were communist spies, and that they were, had these binoculars, and that they were charting all these ships going in and out of the harbor. And then our job was to do these little art projects around the ships, these collages. I couldn't figure out whether we were helping communism by doing these art projects, but it was just the craziest thing. And I went to school with him all the way through high school. And he remained odd to the last day I saw him, which was when I was 18. And then I somehow, maybe 10 years ago, or 15 years ago, found out that he had gone into State Department work. And I couldn't say it was the CIA or whatever, but somehow he'd gone into some sort of State Department work. And the whole reason I know his whole story is really only because of the art. So otherwise, we couldn't have been different. The only thing we had, my shoes were never perfectly separated. The only thing we had in common was these intense art projects we would do, which would be 2-3 hours of concentrated whatever. So art led me into a friendship I would have never otherwise had.
I'm a passion.
I guess when I was real young, my mom had gotten together with my stepdad now, and I remember one day mom finally decided she was going to leave him, and then they were divorced. Well, they weren't divorced, but they were separated for a couple of weeks. Then mom found out my stepdad tried to overdose himself because of something, and he come back, and I remember I got real mad, and I started throwing cuss words at him and stuff, and telling him how much I hated him and stuff, and he beat on me after that. Then after that, I went in my brother's room and I see my brother drawing, and he was like, "Hey, look what I drew." And I was like, "Hey, that's pretty cool." And then he was like, "You should try drawing something." So I sat there and I drew a picture of Yu-Gi-Oh stuff, and because I used to be a big fan of Yu-Gi-Oh, and we sat there and just started drawing. And then after that, a couple of years later, my brother wanted to got real interested in drums and stuff, and I got interested in guitar, so I started learning how to play a little bit of guitar. And me and my brother would sit there and just, when Mom and Derek wouldn't be home, raise hell in the house and get complaints, but yeah.
I don't know, just like, this is more of a continuation than the last one. It's just like, so once I figured out that's what I was gonna do. Once I figured out I'm gonna try to be a film director, so I try to go into doing it. I fail miserably at almost everything at that point. But then I was writing a paper, and then one of my teachers come up to me and they say, "How are you doing? Blah blah," that kind of stuff. And I just said, "Yeah, okay. I'm just trying to write a story here." And she said, "Speaking of writing, one of my sons was just like talking about you." I said, "Me?" And he's just like, "How much you like film?" And I'm just like, "Oh yeah, him." And he said, "Well, I think I know something that you might like." And I said, "Okay." And he brought me into his office, and I was some other kids were just like, "Is he in trouble or something?" And I said, he pulls out this paper, and it's like Apple shopping, and I'm just like, okay, that'd be really cool. And meaning I need to know a lot more about what I'm trying to do. I mean, if I'm going to make movies or something, I need to know what to do. And I'm just, okay, I'll send this application. I'm really, really interested. No way, chance in the world I'm getting in. Out of 60 people, no, I'm not going to get in. And then there's like, I get a call and they say, "We got an interview lined up for you." I was like, "Okay, that's really cool." And my teacher's just like, always kind of looking out for me at that point. He's making sure I know that he knows the information, I know the information, so I don't miss this interview. He takes me down and he takes me here, he drops me off. I overdress.
No.
Imagine this with just like the whole suit shebang. But anyway, so I walk in, I'm scared to death. Like, I don't know what kind of interview this is going to be. I'm scared so much. Like, literally, I can see like 4 people in front of me. It's like, and who are you again? And they ask me these questions, and I leave, and I feel the fact that I just failed miserably. Go home with extreme sadness and just like, I'm never doing another interview again. And months go by, months goes by. Then I get a call, and then he's just like, "Yeah, you got in," and I rejoice, and I hit like I was on my bed when I got the call, and I'm just trying to figure out all this information that like the letters and the mailing addresses and stuff, and I was just like, yes. And I run down the steps to tell my mom, like, Charlie and Shopify, I got a golden ticket, and I literally hit this banister on my head and get knocked out cold, and I had to go to the hospital. And he said, "Oh, you're all right. Yeah, I mean, you just hit your head and you got knocked out. Nothing serious." And I said, "What? But by chance, what were you doing?" I was running down the steps, And why? And I got something I'm really happy to get, and he's like, watch out for ministers. But maybe the amount of 2 or 3 weeks I had this big mark on my head, and there was a point where I was just so happy that I got on that paper I was trying to write, and I was thinking, well, writing is also, I think writing is art. Writing, film, anything is art, but I think writing is art, and that paper I was trying to really focus on, I wasn't doing good on it at all, and the story I was trying to write wasn't good until I started this AMI stuff, and I was just like, okay, I'm so happy now. The expression really helps your, helps you focus. So like if I was really angry, that writing would probably turn out getting censored or something, and then if I was really happy, it'd be a really upbeat, good piece, and I was finally gotten it. I ended up, didn't really even realize it, but I ended up writing 9,000 pages, and it was already, I already had a 9,000 page script. It was just like I had to write this in story form, and ended up with a really good thing. And so through this experience, I was just like, okay, this is good art. So.
Hmm. I'm gonna have to pass.
Well, it's not related to your story at all, but it's sort of as I said before, as a kid, I was really into drawing stuff. I sucked really bad, but, it was a sentiment. So I always draw all these pictures and everything for everybody and hand them out. And I stayed at my granny's house a lot as a kid because we went to my granny's house to wash clothes because at the time we didn't have a washer and dryer and stuff. So we'd go up there and I'd get all my crayons and everything and I'd draw all these pretty little pictures and give them to her. And I stayed over at her house not too long ago, and I stayed in a bedroom that was usually covered by all of her stuff, and we were not allowed in that room. Mm-hmm. So I was laying there on the bed trying to go to sleep, and I looked up on the wall, and I saw this little picture that was so old that it was like really crumbly and everything. And she had it posted up on a wall, and there was a little rainbow and a little person and a cat, of course. I always drew cats too. It was just like, there's a little note above it. It was just like, I can't wait to come back to your house, and I love you, Granny, and I saw my name and everything. And it was nice that she still had it up. I was surprised that she kept it because there's all kinds of grandkids, but she decided to put my picture in her room.
So, the definition of art is pretty wide. And like, as a photographer, at some point you started thinking, am I an artist? I think yes, but to me, more so that like, life is, So, I was going through this like strange phase of my life, and thinking like nothing mattered. So I was just like on a bike ride. There's this big purple field. And I got to thinking, each one of those flowers is really insignificant. And then, that was my thought. It was like nothing mattered. So what I realized was that if you pick one, no one will notice. But it took every purple flower to make it work. nothing significant. It's like a little seed. That's a tree. That's 100 apples. That's 4 more seeds. That's fucking 400 trees and 5,000 apples. So, like, no matter how small it is, it seems like it doesn't matter. It does. But it doesn't. It is, but it isn't. Everything and nothing. And, you know, that's life. But, you know, what you want to take from the day is that it does matter on the level of, if it wasn't for the million purple flowers in that field, it wouldn't have struck me like that. And I tried to go back a week later and take a picture, and it just didn't translate into a good picture, but purple field.
Mine's unrelated too, but a few years ago, myself and my friend Joe Talbert got sent to Baltimore, and it was the first time I'd ever been to Baltimore, and we were there because organization that Aftershock works with a little bit called Alternate Roots was having a big homecoming gathering in Baltimore, and I don't know if y'all know much about Baltimore, but it's not doing too hot as a city right now. It's got a lot of infrastructure problems. There's whole city blocks that are just vacant or only have 2 houses on this whole block, and the rest is vacant. You know, people don't have very good jobs. They're even in the whole Bay Area. There's a lot of pollution. And it's just kind of gotten a little left behind by the rest of the country. At the same time, there's a lot of people in Baltimore. And there's a lot of people from the South in Baltimore who grew up in the South, or their grandparents grew up in the South, etc. And we were having this gathering of Southern artists in Baltimore to not only exchange between what was happening in Baltimore, but to also kind of have people perform and talk about their work and talk about their experience as Southern artists. And I had never been to Alternate Roots Gathering before, you know, even though I grew up in Whitesburg around Aftershock and around a lot of theater work. I grew up watching roadside plays when I was little, here in the theater, all of that. It'd been a really long time since I had been in such a space where for basically like 2 or 3 days, it was just like art was everywhere all the time. And in particular, there was this one play that they did outside. They gathered everybody to go view this play, and we all gathered in this pretty large park for Baltimore, and you wouldn't even think you were in the city. There were these big tall trees. It was grass everywhere. And they did a performance, and it was by a group mostly from the Deep South, but it was black and white performers, and they were all dressed in kind of old Southern majestic attire. And the play just started out with these people just wobbling with their heads kind of hung down, and they were like puppets almost. And they were all talking. You couldn't really hear them that well, so you had to go up to them and listen to them. And what they were talking about were stories of lynchings that had taken place in the South. So each person, whether they were black or white, was telling a story about somebody that had been hung in the South, mostly black people, right? And it was the weirdest experience for me because not only had I never seen a play performance within nature that way, but also we weren't in the South, and yet it felt so Southern. Because the actors and the actresses were there, they were telling these stories, and they were doing something that was very much a part of, this isn't a play that belongs on the stage. It's about experiences that happen with people in nature. And as we're standing there with these trees in Baltimore, that these experiences were happening with trees, with nature. And for me growing up, I had always seen nature as this really beautiful, amazing, like tranquil space, right? That like, for instance, if I was in a city, I could escape to a park and not feel like I was in a city anymore. Or I would run into the hills and play little games and make troll houses and whatever. And then I was put in a situation where I was in nature, and it was about these horrible experiences that had happened that I knew so little about, and at the same time was like told to go into nature in a place where theater normally doesn't happen, and be told in a very, very different way about history that I felt like I had been kind of sucked out of. So anyway, I got a lot from this kind of like different experience of what nature could be, what it meant to different people, and how that kind of intertwined with being in this city that had been really, really kind of sucked out.
So we're going to rejoin the other group here, so.